which is your favorite Joss Whedon television show or movie? I know it's not popular to talk about Joss Whedon at the moment because of the stuff he said on
I'm a leaf on the wind.
set and on places like the Justice League film, but he is a decent director and creator, so I'm asking that question. And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for HBO's original series, The Nevers. Let me know in the comments below, were you excited about this? But let's jump into the review. An epic tale following a gang of Victorian women who find themselves with unusual abilities, relentless enemies, and a mission that might change the world. So this series has been in production hell since 2018. Joss Whedon has spent 2 years with hundreds of hours. He's now actually left the project, but because of COVID and just like filming issues of like having to find warehouses and build sets inside there because they couldn't use the sets they needed or the places they wanted to film on, it was just a cornucopia of issues. But eventually they have filmed 6 episodes. There are 10 episodes to this series. They haven't filmed the last 4 yet. You know, in those, he creates really strong female characters. He also creates characters that we love. So if you've seen Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, he'll do this thing. He'll create characters and make you fall in love with them, and then bam, he'll take some from him. Says, don't be afraid to kill your darlings, because that really kind of invests the audience to your story that you're trying to tell. At the same time, you hate him for it. So that is what I thought after watching the first. They're releasing episode by episode. I would do a recap and kind of give you a little bit of a history of what's happened with this series. For the most part, I thought this first episode was incredible. It's very unexpected. It also does things I wasn't expecting it to do. So we have our female protagonist. We have a bit of kind of a Sherlock Holmes thing going on. We have a bit of a Q. It gives you a bit of a feeling of X-Men, but back in the day, if X-Men were only females.
I'll start for you against me. What's happening to me?
You know, mutants' abilities and how people will judge them or think they're evil, or some people trying to abuse them, some people trying to use them. And then you have the professor who's going to take the bunch and have a school. In this case, it's the orphanage, and they help people and try and save more of them. That is basically the premise of the story. So if you center that X-Men story in Victoria, London, then you kind of know what you're going to get. There is one little issue that I had, and they did say that the VFX, special effects, and the editing is not quite finished, so maybe that's the issue. But there's a lot of dream-like sequences. Like there's the soft focus, not quite blurry, but it makes you feel like you're watching a dream sequence, even when it's in like normal days. And the reason why I said that is it feels like it's a bit teeny, but then it brings in the sex and like kind of full nudity. It brings in the violence where you see actual things explode, and I'm like, dang, okay, so this is not for young teens, it's for fun. So the fun factor is definitely there. And then we have this engineer, this creator that has her abilities. She's able to see electricity and where it wants to land. I think that's the excuse she gives it. She sees power, and then she builds things around that, and so she creates inventions and things that wouldn't exist yet. And you kind of have to suspend your disbelief. Of color in high profile positions, that wouldn't be a thing, and I know people are going to mention it in the comments, which is the only reason why I'm mentioning it. We're done with all that. People are now, you know, you're watching a fantasy series with people with magic and stuff in Victoria, London. If that's what's going to trip you up, then you're not going to enjoy this 6th episode. There's a natural break there, but there is also 4 episodes to finish the story, and we don't know how long we're going to have to wait just to finish the first season. They haven't filmed them yet, and they haven't been edited, so fingers crossed. For now, it's excellent. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a big surprise until after I watched the episode, and I thought this makes so much more sense. So even though there's a lot of hate towards Joss Whedon at the moment, the creator of this, he poured his heart and soul into it, and you can see the female protagonist where it's kind of his strongest work, really. I hope you enjoy it, because he's no longer involved in the project, so you can just kind of let it settle on you with all the 15,000 other people that were involved in making this series. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Let me know in the comments, were you excited to watch this? Very interesting lore, interesting take on this. We've seen it done before, obviously, but the way they do it, and I think the banter between the characters will carry it to those places. You're like, yeah, I can guess where this is going. I know what's going to happen. I know this person's probably going to end up in a relationship with that. This father, you know, you are my father. You know where certain moments of this plot and the storyline are going, but you can enjoy it because I think the protagonists are really great with each other, the good and bad, their whole presence on the screen, and I think that alone is worth watching it for. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.